just to start the day today, we had an introduction to the Digital Twin Workshop where myself and the other two co-chairs really introduced some of the concepts and some of the things that we've done over the last 2 years. For example, we have been collaborating with these global organizations such as BIM for Water. We just recently created a partnership with the Digital Twin Consortium. Dan Isaac, the CTO of Digital Twin Consortium, will talk hopefully later tonight on the benefits of us working together. And as of recently, we're now collaborating with AWWA as they're starting a Digital Twin committee, and again, aligning across all of these global organizations so that we're not being redundant and we're actually complementing each other's work, and all of us together are accelerating digital twin deployment across the entire global water sector. So that's really the purpose of all of these collaborations, is to have pure alignment and acceleration in digital twin. We open with a consistent definition of digital twin from Andrew, and Colby Manwaring really started talking about the 4 components of digital twin. We shared information about the sub areas of the digital water. Well, we actually talked about the concept that digital water is not really equal to digital twin, but digital water is an umbrella area for all digital technologies in the water space. And digital twin is really a very specific sub area where at the core of it, it utilizes a model, a behavioral model of a system, like for example, a hydraulic model in the case of a drinking water distribution, and context data. And the marrying of these two entities really provide enormous insights. And we also often talk about infinite number of virtual sensors to get even more insights about your system. So a very holistic view of your system. We then had our very first panel, which was excellent. I was honored to be the moderator. It was called Journeys for the Development and Benefits of a Digital Twin. And here we had 4 great presentations from Romania, Italy, drinking water distribution, VCS Denmark on their urban drainage system digital twin, and PUB Singapore on the treatment plant digital twin, and then finally the city of Houston on a wastewater digital twin. There were some key themes that kept coming up and up with all these experiences. All 4 of these utilities have been running a digital twin and have been using it. And one is the construction of a digital twin is about data integration. The data link, the data integration between different systems. It's not one single system, but an integration of many existing systems in most cases. Different digital twins need to develop based on the outcomes that you're looking for. So a utility normally does not develop a single digital twin, but multiple digital twin based on a particular outcome. You might use different models, you might use different data sets. And then the construction of a digital twin really requires, and I'm sure all of you also experience the same thing, a very agile methodology, because you're constantly integrating different applications and different data sets to get the outcomes that you're looking for from this digital twin. And then all experience really showed a significant improvement in the areas that they focused on with some solid return on investment. So that was very, very exciting to hear. We then went on to a master class with all the co-leads of the 4 sub-working group. And the 4 sub-working group, as many of you already know, are the architecture sub-working group, the digital twin lifecycle, the BIM and asset management, and finally the outcomes and ROI. And I think they did a superb job of really explaining what has been done over the last year or 2 in their sub-working group, what is the vision, and where are they today? What are some of the outputs? Like you can see, many of the panelists in this last panel showed the architectural diagram from the architectural working group. So really, it was a great way to understand what we have been doing in the digital twin working group over the last 2 years. I was so really impressed by everything that they showed. And they're very open to telling the audience, please join the teams. They have conference calls, maybe I think every couple of months to really work on the activity. And we would love for everyone to come in with your great ideas. Then we had a very different thing. We had an interactive roundtable discussion led by thought leaders on the topics of the successes and the pitfalls of advanced data integration. So I ended up in one of them. I was with Gary Wang's session, which was fascinating and interesting. And then we heard a recap of everyone. So I'm going to dive into a little bit of some of the things we heard about data APIs, how important they are, and for you technology vendors out there, more APIs, more access to data, more integration with other applications, because really that is at the fundamental heart of what a digital twin is. Internal customers of a utility, they talked about how digital twin really made us think about having internal customers, and we heard that as well in this last panel. The field engineers will start talking to the OT engineers and the business group. So really these internal customers and sharing of data. Talked a lot about data quality and how critical it is. We've all said bad data in equals bad insights out, and digital twin, as powerful as it is, it could really lead you in the wrong direction if you don't have quality data coming in. So work on the quality of the data and assure that before you, apply that to digital twin. And then many of the systems require integration and data normalization and tagging. Data normalization is a very important part that I keep hearing over and over and over again when we're trying to break down the data silos. A pump in one system, like a GIS system, might be labeled slightly different than a pump in a SCADA system. But the merging of that data really requires a human being to say, well, yeah, I'm translating this pump to this pump so that we can merge that data. One thing that helps solve that problem as we do more and more life cycle digital twin, that is, look at digital twin in the design phase, the construction phase, and into the operational phase, you will start to have something called a digital thread, so that you use things like BIM methodology, building information modeling, to help capture the asset information, and then use that same asset information captured once throughout all your applications without any human entry involved. That's really the key of the life cycle of a digital twin. So those things came up. And we talked a lot about virtual sensors. Oh, and I failed to mention, we also announced the course, a training course on digital twins that is a collaboration between SWAN and Julia's Education and myself, Carmen Cedars Consulting. And now it is available online, and I think it's free to all utilities that are SWAN members. But I have a whole module in there about virtual sensors and what the definition is and the role that they play with digital twin and why they're so powerful. So that came up in our group session. Again, pitfalls like security issues. A lot of utilities were talking about that, and twin can play a key role, not just in looking at, in other words, technology is not the limiting factor anymore, but what the limiting factor is for a utility is a digital transformation journey, which I think I also heard in this great panel from Nigel Watson as well. And then DT significant K. So on our final panel, which you've all just heard, is the digital twin user experience, people driving results, and that was moderated excellently by Nigel Watson of Northumbrian Water. We heard from Clean Water Services in the US, and we heard from in Oregon, sorry, and VTENS in Amsterdam, and Anglian Water in the UK. And really, this panel, as all of you heard, is really focused on people, on culture, on process, and all of that is very vital to the creation of digital twin and also part of your journey of digital transformation. So the user experience, one thing that I think Joachim talked a lot about is, more collaboration across all the different utilities. Anglian Water talked about you have to have the right people in the team, cultural changes, and the need for training. And Clean Water Services talked about the digital transformations journey with marrying IT, OT, and ET together, and that whole digital journey across all of these different departments. And one thing that Ting also talked about was this open source IoT architecture, really to bring sensors together with a model. I thought that was amazing. And then lots of talk from Nigel and the panelists about systems thinking and how do we get people to really start thinking more on system level rather than particular component or their actual job. So overall, I thought it was a fantastic day and I want to thank everyone for joining.
My name is Dan Isaacs. I'm the CTO of the Digital Twin Consortium. And we were formed just about a little over a year ago, a year to almost a couple of days. Next slide, please. And you can see our founders here. It's Dell, Microsoft, GE Digital, Northrop Grumman, Lend-Lease, a multi-billion-dollar property management construction company, as well as the modeling, simulation, visualization, and virtualization with both Ansys, Bentley, and Autodesk. So we really have a very strong breadth and depth of experience on our steering committee. But it's really, if you look at our members, this is as we started. We have a little over 50 members when we started. This is what we call our groundbreaker members. Let's fast forward now 1 year later. Next slide. And we are actually well over 300 members. And so within a year, we exceeded 300 members, which is pretty phenomenal. And one of the real key points here about this Digital Twin Consortium is the fact that we both have the technology providers, we have the users of Digital Twin, we have the developers, the researchers, the government, and the academia. So it's very, very well-rounded in terms of all of the different areas that we would hope to be having as part of this consortium and be able to bring together the collective best practices and knowledge and experience. One of our members says we have an unfair advantage. There is no other consortium in the world like this that has this types of breadth, depth, experience, expertise, and knowledge base. Next slide, please. And we're really structured around the different domains, the key vertical working groups. So we look at it from the infrastructure standpoint, which is not just about smart buildings, it's about smart cities, it's about the rails, it's about the bridges, it's about the roads, it's about the transportation. It's about also areas in terms of traffic management, people management, the flow. And so we look at that from an overall perspective, and even the autonomous vehicles that we would have, whether they're air-based or land-based or as you know, in these different areas, fully autonomous, at different levels of automation for that, from that respect. Then we also look at it from manufacturing, and it's not just about the equipment from the industrial aspect, but it's also things like supply chain management. Aerospace and defense, we look at it not just simply about the planes and the ships and the land-based vehicles, but also look at it from the standpoint of network intrusion. And how can you use digital twins to be able to provide you through gamification, these types of what if scenarios, and run these different paths and be able to have a much more robust solution coming out of that. We also have our healthcare and life sciences. And it's also here looking at ways we can eliminate the silos. How do we provide the ability from the big pharma to the healthcare and be able to really provide that conduit and access to that information? We've seen that play out in so many different ways during this pandemic situation we're in. And then we also have our marketing, which is really taking all the breadth and depth of the information and being able to bring out that thought leadership and drive not only the awareness, but the adoption through these education and different aspects. And last but not least, we also have our natural resources working group, which is from oil and gas, mining, also tying in different areas in terms of alternative resources, whether it's wind, whether it's solar, and then also looking at it from air and from water, of which Gigi is one of the co-chairs of our subgroup here in terms of looking at how we can cross-collaborate and bring together the knowledge, the experience, understanding, and the insight from SWAN over and be able to collaborate together on different projects. And that's in the works right now. We also have our horizontal working group, which is looking at across the perspective in terms of things like security. Security is key to all these different areas. You have different aspects, trustworthiness, the reliability, the resiliency of that. Within that subgroup is also looking at it from a standpoint of the platform stack and parts of understanding how open source and open standards and requirements can play into that. Next slide, which leads me to say right here, we are actually have launched our new open source Collaboration Community Initiative. And so this is actually now ready. We've already been receiving several different project proposals. We have a technical advisory committee that's in multiple stages of reviewing these, being able to do this. So this is another opportunity for collaboration with SWAN to be able to look at how we might be able to leverage some open source type activities. Next slide. And then we have multiple initiatives going on. We have a digital marketplace that's in process of being launched. As I talked about, the open source and the open source collaboration community. We're also looking across the board from use case to case study to be able to create this reference library and provide guidance through this, different types of capabilities, experiences. And we have what we're calling our innovation platform. This is really looking at it from the standpoint of how do we bring out the thought leadership? How do we showcase that transformative value and the scalability and extensibility of these platforms? On top of that, we have the expansion that we're going on with our liaisons as well as our regional branches. Next session, next slide, please. And so this is really a great opportunity for the collaboration with SWAN, and we look forward to continuing that. Thank you.